Calling the meeting to order. We'll now do the Pledge of Allegiance. We'd also like to do an additional moment of silence for the passing of Karen Oliveira. She used to be a school committee member for Ward 3. She was a lovely woman, very passionate about education, and a really great mentor. I've only known her for a short period of time, but was very much honored to have that short period with her, and she is going to be greatly missed, I know, by many people in the community, including myself. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to say a couple of words before doing another moment of silence. I open up the floor to the rest of the committee. And with that, we can do...
I'll just briefly say that I didn't have the pleasure to be a colleague when Karen Oliveira was on the school committee. However, I did have her as a teacher in 6th grade at RMS. And from that, I can definitely attest to the fact that she was an incredible teacher who was very passionate for all of the students and doing the best that she could to teach every student and make the subject of math as fun as possible. And to this day, it was one of my favorite classes that I had at RMS, and that's thanks to Karen Oliveira and the great teacher that she was.
Would anyone else like to say a couple of words?
So, unlike the two of them, I have had many conversations with Karen. I was very lucky to know her. My son had her as a teacher at RMS. I think she served here 33 years as a teacher before retiring in 2018, I think. I was on the school committee with her during COVID, and that's when Google Meets were the thing. And she could just make you laugh and laugh and laugh. And she told the funniest stories. Today was a tough day. Many community, friends, family showed up this morning. It was lovely to see the outpouring of love and support for her and her family. Her legacy will always live on. Her name is on this building. Her passion, her 2 lovely grandchildren. So my heart breaks for their family, but I think all of us just need to remember to live every day to the fullest and be grateful for what we have. And tell a joke every now and then, because it will bring a smile on your face and you'll be able to think about Karen.
We can do a small moment. Thank you. There were no votes aside from the motion to adjourn and reconvene into open session. And I'll entertain a vote to seal the executive session minutes. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next item, please.
Next item is student liaison. Nathan Tavares, East Providence High School.
Good evening, everyone. I hope that you have all had enjoyable summers. The start of the 23-24 school year has been going strong for EPHS. Back on August 23rd, an orientation was held for incoming freshmen. This included a senior panel that allowed students to share their past experiences at the high school, along with many other activities that introduced the new students to the Townie community. Speaking of welcoming Townies, student athletes, the cheer team, and the Townie band all greeted EP school department staff on August 29th, marking the beginning of the school year. A total of 25 new staff members found their place among the Townies in the high school this year. Throughout the beginning of the year, the school has held 2 car wash fundraisers for the senior and junior classes, which have been very successful in raising both funds and awareness for these programs. The boys' soccer team held a car show last Sunday loaded with food trucks, a raffle, and music. Now, moving into upcoming events, on Thursday, September 21st, EPHS is hosting a Meet the Teachers Night for all Townie parents. The highly anticipated Townie Pride Parade will be held at Pierce Field on Friday, September 22nd, and the Health Occupations Program is holding their first blood drive of the year also on September 22nd. Picture days for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors are scheduled for both September 28th and 29th. The homecoming football game is scheduled for Friday the 29th, with the homecoming dance following on Saturday the 30th. Before getting into athletics, a little bit of bad news. Construction will be ongoing next week on Pawtucket Ave in the area in front of the clock tower, and significant traffic slowdowns are expected. Mr. Black will be sending out more information to all Townie families as soon as details are finalized. So now, the girls' volleyball team as well as the girls' tennis team are both looking to return to the division championships this fall season, with the goal of both emerging victorious this time around. The Herd is back in the game, planning all sorts of themes for a bunch of athletic events this fall. Students were very excited for the return of Friday Night Lights, with football games being back on home turf following the reinstallation of the light post behind the school. The tropical-themed game last Friday was quite literally jam-packed with Townie pride. Positive feedback was received from members of the East Providence community on how it was such a special night for everyone involved. At the moment, varsity girls volleyball is playing in the gym against Barrington, and varsity girls soccer is playing Ponagansett on the main field behind the school. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is consent agenda.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Next item, please.
Next item is PTO, PTA, EPLAC reports.
Good evening. Just want to let everyone know that our first EPLAC meeting is September 27th on Wednesday at Martin Middle School Library at 6 p.m. This year our focus is to have about 3 or 4 workshops. Our objective is to have a membership drive. We really need to step up our membership and have some families join us. We also would like to work on inclusion on school events and activities for our kiddos. So that's one thing. And we are also looking to start a new board that will take place for November, correct? We are looking for a new chair, a new co-chair. We are keeping our lovely secretary. So if anyone has any interest in this, please reach out to eplac@epschoolsri.com. And this is Tori Jessup. I'd like her to say a few words.
No, you said it all,
Oh, I
basically,
said it all?
sorry.
Okay. Any questions?
We do want to encourage, oh, sorry, I do have something to say.
Okay.
Part of our focus and our objectives this year also is to incorporate more representation within our schools. So we want to make sure that we are thought of when it comes to open house. We want to represent our organization at the open houses, and it's a little bit difficult this year because we have multiples on multiple days. So in the future, we'd like to work with everyone on making sure that we have ability to do so. And then also we want to do representation at parent conference night so we can be a resource for parents as well.
If you have any forms, I'm representing RMS PTA on Thursday again, so I can take them for you if you have any.
I have to direct that to our director because she has our brochures. So I think we have some available, but we have.
If you can just give me
brochures.
one, or if Mary can send it to me, I can print them out and just, whatever you need.
Are you speaking of our brochure or the membership form?
Everything that you would
Okay.
like parents to know about.
I will email you the membership form, and I will
That
make
sounds
sure
doable.
Okay.
you get brochures, also the nice 4-color brochures.
I will pass them out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is Superintendent's Report. Dr. Ferrand.
Good evening, everyone. So I was asked to present some information about the central office staff and who is responsible for what. So we're just going to do a brief presentation about the different roles of our directors. Next slide, please. So these are our directors. Leslie Anderson, Director of Pupil Personnel, Diana Clocken, Director of Operations, Craig Enos, Director of Finance, Uniza Gallant, MLL Director, Mark Williamson, HR, Alfred Villeneuve, Director of Technology, Lindsay Riley, Director of Teaching and Learning, and Chris Murphy, Director of Facilities. Next slide. So Human Resources consists of Mark, and then he has 3 people that work in Human Resources, Marianne O'Rourke, Stephanie Goodrow, and Julie Bailey. And you can see all that our HR department is responsible for: hiring, onboarding, employment records, policies and procedures, benefits, substitutes, attendance and leaves, employee relations, contract administration, employee assistance and wellness, and workers' compensation. So all of those duties fall under the Director of HR. Next slide. Finance, Craig Enos. We have Mike Huber, who is the controller, and Emily Dias, who is our staff accountant. And then we have administrative assistants, Terry Valley, Kristen Chase, Donna Colasanti, and Trish Furtado. They handle all of the finance in the districts, all of the grants, all of the payroll, paychecks, benefits, as far as the deductions, health and dental deductions, all of our purchase orders, all of our bank reconciliations, anything related to finance, obviously, comes out of that office. And that's the finance staff. Next slide. Pupil personnel. Leslie Anderson and Bud McDonnell, who's part-time. This is our Office of Special Education, so they handle all of the laws, regulations, policies for educating students with disabilities. Goal of special ed is to improve the academic, social, and post-school success of students with disabilities. We have students from age 3 to 22. They oversee all of that. They have 2 administrative assistants in that office, Ruth Reynolds, who handles all of the onboarding, purchasing, equipment, records, and Medicaid, and then Jordana Croak, who deals with all the Power School, the ride census, and handles all of the special education records. Next slide. So operations is Diana Clarkin. It's student transportation, registration, and attendance. She also oversees the food pantry, and she does all of the buildings and grounds rental and use. Diana is assisted by Maria Rodriguez, who is the administrative assistant for registration. So she's on the front line of all our families that come in to register their students. And Lisa Goulden is the administrative assistant. She handles all of transportation and building use. So that office has been jumping for the last probably 2 months with all of our transportation and registration. And then last year we hired Mark Petrella. He's part-time, and he is our attendance officer. So he handles some of the court cases. He goes out to do residency checks. He goes out to do wellness checks, and helps with the attendance. Next slide, please. Our information technology department, as I said, Alfred is our director of technology. Patrick Irwin handles all of the student data, so he deals with all of the ride reporting, which there are many, many reports we are required to submit throughout the year, and he handles anything related to student data. Our systems administration, John Iema, Justin Van Brink, and Patrick McDonald, basically our on-the-ground support. They answer all of our tickets. They have worked all summer helping with the access control systems, with installing the cameras in all the buildings. They've overseen the contractors, worked with them. Again, they do all the on-the-ground ticket support. They go out to schools, they help with Chromebook distribution, pretty much anything related to IT. This is the staff that deals with it. Next slide. So Office of Teaching and Learning. Lindsay is the Office of Teaching and Learning. She handles all of our curriculum development and planning. She deals with all of the professional development. She is working with continuous improvement, so our MTSS framework, all of our instructional strategies and approaches. She looks at the impact of changes on student outcomes, and she oversaw and continues to oversee our strategic planning, the initial writing of the strategic plan, but also the development of the district's educational strategic plan. She monitors the goals and objectives for teaching and learning, and aligns the department initiatives with the overall district priorities. Lindsay she sets up a district newsletter, our family, our staff, anything related to teaching and learning falls under Lindsay. Next slide. Yaniza is our MLL director, Multilingual Language Learner Services. She handles anything that has to do with our MLL students per RIDE and state regulations and guidance. She makes sure that we're in compliance with all federal and state laws and policies relating to MLL services. She's the point of contact for the state on anything related to MLL. She writes our grant for our MLL funds. She reports in the census all of our MLL students. Again, she coordinates our Title III grant, which is in our categorical funding, all of our professional development related to MLL students and general education support for MLL students. And she looks at our data and develops the action plan that goes along with it. And she was also a really important member of our strategic planning team. And she pretty much greets all of our new enrolling MLL students and, really makes them feel welcome and is connecting people to services now too, that they may need. Next slide. So facilities and maintenance consists of Chris Murphy, who is the director of facilities. Chris oversees all of our, all 11 buildings, both the physical condition and the cleanliness. He also sits on our construction team for Martin Middle School, Waddington, Riverside, pre-K, and the high school. We have our assistant director of facilities, Steve Laughlin. They all report to Chris, so Steve's primary responsibility, he spends most of the time here at the high school, and he's responsible for maintaining the overall condition and cleanliness of the high school. And then Danny actually supports the other schools in the district with the maintenance and cleanliness of the other buildings in the district. And then Lisa, as I mentioned, she splits her time between facilities and transportation. She's the administrative assistant. Next slide, please. That's the last slide, I think. Is it? It is the last slide. Yep. Any questions on roles and responsibilities? I will say it's an overall team effort, and while everybody has primary responsibilities, we work to support each other. We meet every week, to make sure that we're all collaborating and we're all on the same page. If we have issues that we need to discuss or people need support in things that they're working on, I really am very proud of the team that I have and very lucky to have the team that I have because they're always willing to jump in and support whatever we need. And I know Celeste is not up there because she's not a director, she's the assistant superintendent, but she's a major part of the team and she helps me make sure that, all of the activities in the district are running smoothly, and she does most of our grant funding and oversees all of the principals. And the list goes on for all the directors and Celeste, but it really is an overall team effort. And I know I can ask anyone to do anything, and they do. So I'm very appreciative of the team I have. All right. No questions?
Questions from the committee? Thank you.
Chris is going to come up and just give you an overview of the facilities report.
Good evening. Construction update across the district. Number one, Orlo window replacement project is 98% complete. Select punch list items remain and are in the process of being addressed right now. Silver Spring window replacement project has reached a quote-unquote significant completion stage. There was a minor hiccup with regard to the final 10 windows in that building. There was some delay on those windows. Temporary windows have been installed, and the ordered windows, the ones that should have been installed, are due in December. Aside from that, final punch list items are being addressed at Silver Spring with regard to that window replacement project as well. The Riverside window replacement project, after a summer long of preparing for this window project, we saw the first 2 windows installed just this week in Riverside. So if you want to go down there, look at the right side of the building. Those 2 stairwell windows have been installed, and they look sharp. They certainly do. I encourage you to take a trip down there to Riverside and see what is due to come for the rest of the building. That project is slated to take approximately anywhere from 12 to 14 months. So late fall next year is the completion for the window project at Riverside. Hennessy and Silver Spring smokestack demolition projects were both completed prior to the start of the year as planned. Kudos to the contractor who did that work for us. The Martin Middle School demolition/renovation started in early July in earnest. This job will take approximately 2.5 to 3 years to finish. Oldham Elementary classroom enhancement has been completed. Martin Pre-K to Oldham transfer has been completed. The high school, the installation of the durable vinyl wall covering select areas on the first and second floors at the high school was completed on September 5th. There exists still a punch list for the high school. We call that our open items report. On that report sits currently at 17 open items. This is made up of 13 items from phase 1, which is the first phase of the building. And in addition to that, 4 recently added items from the phase 2 11-month warranty walkthrough that took place in early August. Of the total 17 items, however, 6 are administrative in nature, that is paperwork or as-built that we are waiting to receive from the architect. So we are chipping away at that list. And lastly, we're very happy to report, and as you heard the young man say earlier, that the athletic complex behind the high school has once again started to host county athletic contests and practices now that the 30-inch drain line has been repaired. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
One quick question. The trailer at Oldham, does that have electricity yet?
No, it does not. We received the permit for that trailer middle of last week, and we then enrolled the electrician to come out and do his thing. We're still waiting for him to come out.
Do we have a time frame, or is that just?
No, by the end of this week. We
Okay.
expect it very soon.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I asked the superintendent for a few moments tonight to just to discuss the finance report as we're approaching the end of the fiscal year. The current budget has been impacted by our increases in student enrollment, increase of students with special education needs and their related services, an increase of 8 new out-of-district placements, a residential placement, and as well as the numerous plumbing and heating issues that we've been fixing, all of this past year. Last week, as a precautionary step, we implemented a freeze on all purchase orders for the district for the remainder of the fiscal year, with the exception of emergency medical supplies. And we haven't done this in about 3 or 4 years. But we always do that just to make sure that we are ending the year in a good place. Because we already do have some line items, as you can see, in the 53,000 series, the 55,000 series that we have gone over budget. Over the coming weeks, before the October school committee meeting, we will be reviewing all of the expenditures to make sure that any expenditures that can be covered by grants, that we will reclass them accordingly. And additionally, we'll do our review of all the open purchase orders for the special education out-of-district tuitions. We may have had some students who have left. We had some that moved in. Some placements may be higher, some placements may be lower. But we will need to be cautious with our spending over the next 7 weeks, and my report and comments in October will be geared towards the year end, and I will provide an updated forecast at that time. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
I have a couple questions. I'm sorry. Craig, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Can
How
you
are
let us know how much money we are going to be short, or what you're trying to shift money around, the dollar amount, with the new students, with the new hire?
Yeah, so I'll do that at the next month. So I'll be able to give you a more accurate forecast. There's just lots of different areas where that falls in.
And we would need that money for this upcoming year, which we're going to be looking to shift around the new budget.
Yeah, so it will all play out as we need it to.
So the $200,000, or let's play with numbers, let's do 190 to 211 to make everybody happy. That would really help us out for the upcoming budget.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
If I could just ask one question really quickly, could you just specify the items that have increased?
Sure. So if we look, for example, in the 53,000 series, not to pick up, it is what it is, for the speech therapists, right? So these are the independent contractors that we hire to come in to provide services to our students. So we budgeted $250,000. Well, year to date, we've already spent $435,000. So you can see where that line is already over. In the 55,000 series, we had for the out of district placements. Well, that increased by $120,000. And that was just due to the new placements that we had. And remember, that's $120,000 that's to cover us for August, September, and October. Where else? Yeah, in terms of places where we can reclass into grants, so we had to purchase additional Chromebooks. And with the timing of the finance report, having to place the order didn't quite make it into the grant, so that's why we had to appropriately put it in here. However, our goal is that will be covered by the grant. So for next month, that expense will be coming out. So that's in the 57,000 series. Tech hardware, 57,309.
Craig, can I, first let me thank you guys for keeping us updated on the enrollment numbers. I think it's important to know that, so going forth this week, if I ask the superintendent to continue to give us enrollment numbers up until we have the October budget so that we can see, and if it's outplacement, in-placement, or whichever needs to happen, so that I never want to think that we have a hiring freeze, because that means we may not be giving something to a student that they need, or something to all of our students that they need, or to our teachers. So it's happened once, I think, or twice in my time up here. So yeah, these numbers are hard to look at, but there's nothing we can do about it. So we have to educate our students.
And we take care of the needs of
Yes.
all of our students, first and foremost. And I did want to put in a plug, because the school year has started up again. We are off to a really great start with our school lunch applications. Kristen Chase has been doing a great job. So parents, it is not too late, www.myschoolapps.com, and you can fill out that online application for us. Thank you.
Will you also be doing will somebody be present at the Meet the Teachers Nights that are all coming up, like in the past, or no?
I don't know. When I did them all last year,
Yes, you did.
the results of that wasn't as fruitful as I was hoping.
Okay.
But we're making a concerted effort. We started early, and we are having some really great contact with families when they're calling. So.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm curious. Were there, this kind of sentiment of freezing, of allowing POs to come in? What is new? The school year started a couple of weeks ago. What's changed since the last month's meeting? Because that wasn't something that we spoke about as like a possibility.
Sure. So what happens is sometimes the billings for June doesn't come in July. You'll get them in August. Sometimes you get them later on in August. So some of it has to do with the timing of when we're receiving bills and when we're actually paying them. So.
Okay, understood. So like the tech hardware line item? Like the line items you pointed out to us were the ones that all came in.
Those have not arrived yet. So, but because we recorded a purchase order for that expense, it landed here on the finance report.
And then just to be clear, when you say end of the year, what date are you referring to?
October 31st?
October 31st.
So that's the end of the fiscal year
Yep.
for us.
Thank you.
Just as far as the tech hardware too, we've had to buy additional Chromebooks because we've had additional enrollments, quite a few, as you can see when I send you the numbers, and any that are broken that we're trying to recover. Students have come back and not had them, so we've had to give out loaners, and like the supply is short. So, it's the increased enrollment. It's covering the ones that haven't come back yet, and making sure that we have them available to students.
Any other questions or comments from the committee?
I'm actually just a little curious, and not necessarily financial, but coming into the school year, we talk about increased enrollments, which is, there's a lot of positives with that. Was there a targeted number? So, for example, right now, the total number at East Providence High School, was there a target that you set for the district to be like, hey, this is like the comfortable number? Once we start going over, now is when we're starting talking about, wow, increased enrollments are really going to have an effect. Like when we're planning out, is that school by school or no?
I think it's a little easier to look at it that way with like the elementary and middle school because there's choices, right? So if and we've seen this, if one class is full in one school, then we have the option to move students to that same grade level in another class. So we're never really full at the elementary level. Some of our classes are smaller than others. I think the issue comes in at the high school. We only have one school. I mean, today's numbers, we were at 1720. I looked at May of last year, and we were at 1636, I think it was. We've seen since May of last year to today, we've had 70 new students. Which has, and I've sent you, we had to hire a science teacher, we had to hire another special ed teacher, we had to hire a Spanish teacher. So the high school was designed for 1,600 at 85% capacity. So we're pretty full. Again, I think some of that will adjust too. We'll probably lose some more students that maybe haven't come into school yet, or will move out, but we're seeing new enrollments almost every day. So it's high. The high school is high.
Just a question, when we say it's at 1,600 at 85%, do we know what the exact number was, so we just know that the building will hold X amount of students at 100%? Because every time we discuss this, we're at the 85%, 84%. What will this building hold to educate the kids in the city of East Providence? If we don't need that tonight, if you can just get me that or somebody. Yeah. If you can just send us out to everybody up here, that would be great.
Yeah, we can discuss it. I'm not exactly sure how we would say that because it goes by classes that they're assigned to, and when you're figuring the capacity of the building, I don't know that we'd hit capacity because the auditorium has a capacity, but we don't teach in the auditorium, and cafeteria, we're not teaching in there. So I don't know if we.
How many desks do we have in the building? And how many
Yeah.
students? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's 28 desks in every single classroom. If it's utilized every period, every classroom, is that a number that because it'll never be like that, because some classes have 28, and then you might have a class that, some of our CTC classes, the enrollment's, 18 students. Right. So it varies. We'll put together something for you that makes sense. But it's a tough question to just answer.
But as we go along, we do have some leg room that we can fit more kids into this building with.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, right? We only have one in high school, so we only have one choice. But we're using almost every room, every period, if not every room, every period. We've been creative with some of our scheduling.
So apparently the planning for this
Yeah.
5 years ago was working really well, except we have financial problems now, to a certain degree, because we're not keeping the dollars matching the amount of kids coming into the school district. All right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see, we should see an increase in state aid next year. I mean, this was a big bump for us this year as far
Be
as
based on
students go.
October 1,
Yeah,
based upon the enrollment.
yeah, they'll take, so whatever our count is on October 1, that's what they base our state aid on.
For next coming up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But so based on that, will that increase in state aid be enough to cancel out any increases in enrollment that we expect to see at the high school?
That's another, hard question to answer. So I think a lot of, when we looked at the budget, one of our biggest expenditures is out-of-district tuitions, too. So that's what we're seeing right now that's very unpredictable. We don't know, when we set the budget, we don't know whether we're gonna have, right now we have 89 out-of-district placements. We don't know if it's gonna be 69, 79, 89. Students move in, they're in placements, they remain in those placements, and then, we're paying that tuition. And that tuition could be anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000, depending on the placement that they're in. So I think that's the number that we always find the trickiest to predict. And sometimes students move out, and we've budgeted for that, and they move out of the district, and but it's just fluid.
So based on the numbers of the middle schools, the class sizes coming in this year was 453. I don't want to say the 9th grade was 453, because the 8th grade is 381 currently, and then 392, and then 385. But the last 3 consecutive have all been 400. So there are people moving into this district that did not go to middle school.
Mm-hmm. We see students coming from private schools we've seen a lot of transfers. So I get every new enrollment for the high school, I get an email on them. So I've asked them to put down where they're coming from. So we've seen students that are coming back from private schools. We've seen students move in from all over the place. But even, some of our parochial schools that go up to 8th grade, we've had a lot of those students come back into the district for high school. So it's a mix of where they're coming from. And I believe there's, and I'm not positive of this exact number, we had accepted 24 out-of-district students for career and tech. I'm not sure if all of them ended up registering, but that's how many we have accepted. But that, going forward, will be an issue if our enrollment.
And waitlisted some.
Oh, we had
Yeah.
a ton on the wait list. We had 400 applicants for 260 slots, so there were a lot of students. But we took all East Providence students for all programs first. And then any program that wasn't full, that's when we accepted out-of-district students, and that was only 24. But in the future, if we don't have those seats, we just won't do that.
And I think that going back to when this building was being constructed or talked about, the powers that be for many years, and Tony can agree with me, we sat in city council meetings where numbers weren't going up. Every development, no children, no children, no children. And then the powers that be said that these numbers would never, again, we're only at 85% capacity right now.
It was designed for 85%.
Right.
For usage at 85%, which would be 1,600 students. We're over
So
that.
I think maybe we need to, and this is RIDE, and now we're building Martin. So I think that's a conversation that needs to start to happen eventually, soon, because if our numbers are going up this high, I don't think it's just going to be the high school going forth. I think you're going to see numbers go higher at Martin, even though RIDE tells us that that's not going to happen.
So we met with Flow Analytics today. They're doing another demographic study for Martin because we're really looking at the numbers that they're giving us. So they're doing another demographic study. We had a long conversation today about number of enrollments and the numbers over the last 5 years. So we're hoping that there's some movement in the projected enrollment for the Martin numbers. But it's based on your demographic studies. When you build, it's square footage per student, and that's what you get reimbursed for. And so they're looking at 475, I believe it is, for Martin, and we're at 600 right now. They're saying that we're going to decrease, but that's not what we're seeing. So again, we met again today. They're doing another demographic study, and I believe they talked to planning too about the different developments that were being built in the city. So I'm hoping that what they're seeing in the numbers over the last 5 years and the conversation with, the city will help us with those numbers. But I've said this multiple times, we are one of only 5 districts in the state that have seen an increase in enrollment, and we are continuing to increase.
Do you know when we should be expecting for those results to come out, and if you think we'll be able to have that in time for the Martin project potentially?
Yeah, that's what it's designed for, is the Martin project. So,
you think we'll have time to be able to expand, if anything?
or more reimbursement. I mean, we have, it would be more reimbursement, because we are building for more than 475 because of the classrooms and stuff, the way it's designed for teams. Craig, did they say, was it September 30th that they'd have preliminary results, and then with a full report by October, the end of October, I think it was? I think we'd see some preliminary numbers by the end of the month. But we'll continue to monitor the budget, and we'll make sure that we update you next month.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the committee? Next item, please.
Next item is Director of Teaching and Learning Report, Lindsay O'Reilly.
Good evening. Just give a moment for my slides to come up. Tonight's presentation is designed to outline the priorities of our 3-year district strategic plan. Next slide, please. The first slide outlines the process of gathering stakeholder input to bring diverse perspectives to the table, to set direction for our district and envision what is possible for our students. Through a year-long process last school year, our district created a shared vision of an East Providence graduate and developed a 3-year strategic plan. Next slide, please. These 4 priorities outlined are the foundation of our district strategic plan and the annual school improvement plans that each of our schools have developed for the 23-24 school year. Next slide. Priority 1, the goal of academic excellence is to support every student in developing the knowledge, skills, and habits of mind and the vision of a graduate to reach goals. Academic proficiency opens a multitude of post-secondary pathways for students to pursue their interests and passions. Our collective work in Priority 1 includes strengthening our MTSS model with high-quality, differentiated instruction at all tiers, expanding our use of data cycles for continuous improvement, and to support the expert use of the high-quality curriculum materials we've adopted. These priorities were reflected in the PD sessions that we offered to launch the start of this school year. We remain committed to the continued implementation to support high-quality ELA and math core curriculum, the Think SRSD writing framework in grades K through 8 across content areas, and science of reading training for our educators. Next slide, please. Priority 2, social emotional skills are needed for students to access academic learning. Social emotional skills include recognizing and managing emotions, developing caring and concern for others, establishing positive relationships, making responsible decisions, and handling challenging situations constructively and ethically, according to Castle. The work in Priority 2 includes, but is not limited to, data review cycles to maximize the information that we yield. So we use a common screener in all of our schools, Satchel Pulse, and we use this data to inform our efforts, and we'll continue to do that this school year. An increased emphasis on student leadership in our schools, and educator learning and training, and the continued development of systems to support our students. Based on information we gathered last year through professional development surveys, survey works, and other qualitative measures, ED offerings to launch the school year in August. This included specific training in de-escalation and strategies for supporting students through difficult moments in our classrooms. Next slide, please. Priority 3 is our commitment to continuous improvement. Through the work outlined in Priority 3, we will develop a shared leadership at every level and a culture for continuous improvement. Creating a culture for continuous improvement will ensure an environment where individuals and teams are encouraged to constantly seek ways to improve practice and performance and processes. This approach will lead to increased efficiency, productivity, and overall success for our students. Our school district will reflect a commitment to creating collaborative, innovative, and equity-centered learning communities to ensure student success. We believe as a team and as a district strongly that leaders create leaders, that we all come to our work with areas of expertise. And through a distributed leadership model, teams and steering committees are being formed to support and guide critical decision-makings in all of the areas identified. Priority 3 also emphasizes our commitment to professional learning, that it's aligned to the priorities that we set. So coherence was a primary driver in planning our PD to start the year, meaning that all of the sessions offered were closely and intentionally aligned to the priorities that I'm speaking of today. Within grade levels, content areas, and specialized roles, we aim to deepen knowledge and our abilities to work in concert with one another to achieve the outcomes that we've outlined in the plan. And next slide, please. Finally, Priority 4. We value families as equal partners in their children's education and recognize the funds of knowledge that families hold in supporting the educational success of their children. Through the strategic plan implementation over the next 3 years, we look to strengthen opportunities for two-way communication and partnership with families. Additionally, we look to strengthen our community partnerships through our new Project Aware grant for schools to serve as hubs to a wide range of programs and resources throughout the city to best meet the needs of the families that we serve. Next slide. And my final slide. So tonight's presentation was really designed to set direction for the work upon us and really to sort of highlight the presentation that was provided to all of the stakeholders in each of our faculties. So district and school committees have begun to form and will support the monitoring of our progress through each of these goals and the action planning moving forward, and I look forward to updating you throughout that process. So thank you for the opportunity to share this information with you as we launch this school year and this 3-year plan. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? I will say thank you again for the presentation. It's especially nice to hear at the end of the week after school classes have started already to kind of hear where everyone's starting and like what the goals are and what we're all working towards. So thank you. Anyone have any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is building committee report.
I'm not sure if Mr. Enos would like to add anything. There weren't that many changes for the high school presentation from what I was informed. I'm not sure if just if you'd like to add anything.
I can't speak for the building committee, but the Martin Middle School and Pre-K and Waddington, we are just talking about completed work. We're talking about enabling phase 2 in October through December, which is important. They worked on creating bus circulation. They did find some drainage issues which have been fixed, and that was when they removed now near the south entrance. Am I correct on that? And they repaired it. The one thing that I took away from it is that they are trying to get early release items, because the trends in the marketplace right now are 52 to 90 weeks out for certain items. And thanks to the gentleman I sat next to, Alfred, I learned that some of that is cable wiring. So you guys have it in your packet, the photos of where the new vestibule has been completed, the corridor for the cafeteria. We are looking possibility of having to have a meeting in October. We will let you know if that has to happen, because it will have to be a special school committee meeting and a special building committee meeting. But
We also have the Waddington Construction Manager at Risk RFP is out on the market. So fingers crossed we have a better result than we did the last time. So we're doing a preliminary walkthrough, not mandatory, but doing a walkthrough with vendors on this Thursday at 3:30. Coming up shortly will be the Riverside Library Science Lab construction RFP, which is going to be done through a general contractor. That will be hitting the market soon, because those are funds that we need to use by September 30th, 2024. So lots of construction going on.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, just a question. Is there an update? There's some families that I've been in communications with or know to a certain level that are having their elementary students dropped off past 4 p.m. Due to what I'm told is a major backup at Martin Middle School. I know I've been in communications with the superintendent about what's going on, and so I was just curious, are any of these updates to working to improve that timing? And I know that it's not children sitting on a bus for an hour, it's just them not getting picked up until 3:20, 3:28. And I also will say that as a parent of students at Myron Francis, I do appreciate the principal, very communicative. There's dojo messages when buses are leaving, what buses are late, so it is helpful. But I was just wondering if there's any plan in place, for that.
Yeah, so I think it's been better the last couple of days with timing, or like Martin, so we have a chat that goes with principals, so like Lori and Julie let us know when the buses leave the middle school. I think yesterday or today it was like 2:34, which is, better than it has been. We're having an issue with a bus and them not having a driver, and they've had to redo the routes at Martin several times because of it. I'm going to say I'm concerned that starting Monday, we're going to be back to an even later time because of the high school construction, and that the road in front of the high school will be 2 lanes. So we're meeting with the bus company this week to brainstorm ideas about how to get the buses out of here as soon as possible. We probably are going to have to route them around, because of the 2 lanes, and there'll be Jersey barriers on Pawtucket Avenue for the 2 lanes. So I am concerned, and we will communicate that with parents, that there might be additional delays starting again on Monday based on the traffic in the city. So I don't really have a good answer right now until we see what's going to happen on Monday. But I do think it's going to slow the buses down getting out of here, which then delays them all along. Sorry.
Okay, there's no plan in place, because essentially the children that, in this specific instance, the children that are sitting at Myron J. Francis until 3:30 who are they being supervised by?
So right now the principal is supervising them. That's what we have. Teachers leave the building, I think 3:15.
I'm just not aware also if this is happening at other schools throughout the district, or is it just affecting?
It's a couple of buses that have been the issue. I think that's why it's affected Francis. I think there's been some issues at White Neck also. I did see a bus was delayed again today, but I am concerned starting again Monday, we're gonna see it with more buses.
When do you think you'll be sending out like a heads up to parents?
Yeah, so after, we're gonna meet with the bus company this week, and it'll just be like, I can't say for sure that it's going to, but my
like
assumption would be if we're going from 4 lanes in front of the school to 2 lanes, that it's gonna have an effect on the time it takes the buses to get out of here. So we're working with the high school staff, with the police department, and with the bus company to come up with the best plan we can. It's short term. I think it's 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But
The
it's
high school.
the high school.
But what about like what's happening with the delays at Martin Middle School?
So the changes in the bus routes the last 2 days, I think will help that.
Okay.
Like, I think that's, if the high school construction wasn't starting on Monday, I think we would be in a better place by the end of the week with Francis and any other buses that have been delayed at Martin. It's because of the bus routes, and it was because of not having a driver on that route. But they've redistributed students, they've adjusted the bus routes again. So I think it would be better, but
I don't think
it's
some of
gonna
the
be
parents
better
have been,
on Monday.
Some of the parents have been in communications with. There has been adjustments made, which were,
Yeah.
and the communications are appreciated. It's
I know.
just trying to see if there's folks just want to know when their children are going to be dropped off from the bus.
Yeah. No, I would hope it is better now based on the changes in the routes. I do expect another delay starting on Monday across all of our buses. I don't know what it'll be. I don't know what it'll be until we see it and we see how we can get the buses out of here the best route for them. But we are planning for it.
Okay.
Cindy, just a question. We know what they're gonna be putting in front of the high school. Are they gonna do some kind of run with the bus over the weekend, or do we wait to the last minute and say, oops, this isn't gonna work?
No, so we've been really good about planning with the bus company and the police department, and like even with Martin, and really trying to work together. We've done dry runs at Martin, like before the school year started and everything. I don't know exactly, Chris, do you know exactly when the Jersey barriers are going in?
On or slightly after the 18th.
Yeah, so we won't be able to do a trial run because they're going in like on a school day. We're not exactly sure the day. We won't have any time to do a trial run ahead of time. I mean, we have what they're planning to do. It's a state construction project. We have what we're planning to do, so that's what we're making our plan based on.
All right.
And the state needs to do it right now.
I can't control that.
Oh, I know.
I know.
If you could, it wouldn't be happening right now.
It would not be happening right now.
And
the
there's no other
third
way.
week of school.
I mean,
They're putting in a water line, and so, again, I'm not a construction
They need to
expert, but
well, they're doing
is
what
it 17 days that the concrete has to cure, or?
Right, this is a state project. We have very little say in what happens in it. They were nice enough to push it off by an entire week. What's going on right now that you saw yesterday and today was supposed to happen last Wednesday, which was the very first day of full school. So we pleaded with them not to do it on the first day of school, and they were good enough to push it back by an entire week. So the action we saw yesterday is hooking up the water main to the current valves that are under the street, all right? Come Monday, we have been told, they will then put in the Jersey barriers, basically cutting that road in half. So there'll be 1 lane north and 1 lane south, right? And therein lies the challenge for the buses that the superintendent was talking about. The 2 lanes that are closest to the Shaw's parking lot are going to be torn up. They have to get down to a certain level, pour concrete. This is a state mandated construction. They pour concrete, and they have to let that concrete cure for 14 to 18 days prior to paving it. So we're just going to sit there and look at that curing concrete for about 2.5 weeks before they decide that it's time to pave that. When that pavement goes in, they'll also have to then line it, remove the Jersey barriers, and put things back to normal. But this is like I said, a state mandated, a state-run project. The city and the subcontractors hired by the city are kind of going by the playbook laid out by the state at this point. So we're doing as best we can to adapt to what's there and planning, as the superintendent said, planning for the best.
Can we send out, and I know Mr. Black has already sent it out, but can we do an all call or something to all parents, email about that? Because it does affect, so if we use 6 of the same buses at the high school, those buses go to the middle school,
Yep.
which then go to the elementary school. So it's going to affect pretty much anybody who rides a bus.
Yep.
So I really think by blasting that out to people, and I'll be honest, the traffic at the high school in the morning is atrocious about the amount of people that are driving there. So I can't, if that bus can't even get in there or get there to drop off.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
our
know where
plan
else you
was
could
to
drop
send
off the
something
kids.
out to
Yeah.
parents, all parents in the
Yeah.
district, so that they're aware that the buses may be delayed. We'll know better after they put the Jersey barriers and we go through the first run,
Yeah.
how much of an effect it's gonna have. We can't predict it until we see it.
And we'll also see what the bus company has to say in our
Yeah.
Thursday meeting,
Yeah.
I believe it is.
Yeah, and just
So-
parents in general trying to pick up their kids. I feel like it just everyone, yeah. But especially the bus kids.
Yeah, we've had a lot of traffic
But, like,
challenges this
just
year, a lot of
people-
construction challenges this
Yeah.
year since the school year has started. And new ones popping up all the time that we're trying to deal with.
If we had to take a best guess, are we expecting it to be about a month or like 3 to 4 weeks that it'll be 2 lanes?
Worst case scenario, a month.
A month, worst case scenario? Okay.
That's my estimate. From what I've been told, from what I've heard from the city engineers, as well as the engineers from Power Corporation and the state representatives that I met with out on that road.
Okay. And can we communicate that as well, because that explains like the length of how long these changes are gonna be taking place?
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Oh, no, I was just asking everyone if we're all set. Thank you.
Very good.
Next item, please.
Next is discussion items.
Jessica, I'm not sure if you want to lead the way on this one, on these items since they're policy.
I'd be happy to.
If I could I'll help you out with the first one.
And thank you.
As part of our audit for food services, there was some language regarding Buy American provisions that needed to be included within the policy. So there was some language that RIDE suggested that we add, so this is just adding that language in. That's strictly all it is. Thank you.
And yes.
Okay, the next policy is the EPPD, Access to East Providence School Department's video feed. So we worked extensively with the police department, the legal department in the city, and our legal department to draft this policy. So this would be their access to cameras in an emergency situation. So this is the second read on that policy.
This is discussion time, boys and girls.
Has
Any
there been,
discussion?
has anything new been added since the first read? We discussed
Neither
this
one of those that,
pretty thoroughly the
Correct.
first time.
and third for discussion, the student attendance policy. For first read. Sure.
So this policy was drafted, the group that drafted the dress code policy, it was most of those same members, and there were additional members that were on this attendance policy. So we started working on this last year. And then, so you'll see that there's the policy, the procedures for attendance, so the policy is brief, and then you have all the procedures that go along with the attendance policy. So there was a lot of input into this and a lot of back and forth about excused absences, unexcused absences, and really trying to establish consistency across the district and procedures to support families to make sure that students are coming to school. So, you know, it talks and like what the decision rules are, how you determine if a student is chronically absent, and what our steps will be through that policy. So supporting them all the way through, you know, starting with a call, a letter, the nudge outreach, building administration outreach, pre-truancy. So it outlines all of the steps for what happens if a student is having difficulty getting to school. So I think it was well done by the group that put it together and is thorough. And that's just the first read of the policy.
So what we have in front of us right here is the policy that was revised in 2019.
No.
This is the new policy. And then those are the procedures that go along with the policy.
So can you go over like some of the major things that are different?
So I think the definition, the definition between excused absences and unexcused absences is much clearer. How parents are asked to report, excuse me, how we define chronic absenteeism, you know, 10% of the school year at any given time. And the way that you would define that is 2 absences per month or 6 absences per quarter. Prompts the decision rules on the last page. And then, again, outlining that 10 absences per school year would mean an attendance referral or a pre-truancy meeting. And then it talks about like really appointments, if your child has a dentist appointment, that they should be either coming to school and being dismissed or coming into school late. That, you know, sometimes we see students have a 9 o'clock appointment and they don't come to school at all. And that day is not an excused day. Like, we would want them to come back to school because they're missing instruction. So it speaks on behalf of that. You know, really encouraging, if you can get appointments after school, to make them after school. It also talks about students with unexcused absences on the day of a school-related activity cannot attend or participate in that activity, and that's at all grade levels. Parents have to sign in to the office for students in grades K to 5. They have to bring them in, and 6 to 12 needs a written note. And the same thing, a written request for early dismissal or medical appointments.
Will we still be asking them? The high school has a form. It's pretty cool. You can just print it off, and I'm embarrassed to say my son used it like twice. And then every teacher is supposed to acknowledge that. So hi, I was out. Here's the doctor's note, and then you print it, and then you sign. The teachers never did, so I don't know if it's even. I gave him something for no reason, but so that it shows that he was absent the day before. They acknowledged it. And are we still using that? Is that part of this?
I have not seen that form.
It's right on the school website. It's on the high school website. Again,
Yeah, I've never seen it in use, but I can't say.
I think
I'm
I
not
might
sure.
have just, okay, yeah, I'll just sit here, go ahead.
If you go to the second page where it says attendance policy procedures.
Yep.
I notice in a couple of these, like 5, for example, it says following 10 absences per school year, but it doesn't specify whether that's excused or unexcused.
Yeah, I think it does up top, that it's,
Where is that?
yeah, I think I saw it, like
Page 2.
it's,
So like 5, for example.
yeah, I think they're referring to the procedures would be unexcused.
Okay, because I know if I go to page
I can
3 and
double
I
check.
see like definitions,
Right.
it'll have excused and unexcused, and basically anything not listed as excused would be considered unexcused.
Right,
So
towards
that's
the
what they
chronic
mean by
absence.
that.
I did see.
So this is a pretty extensive document. Can we just send some of our edits or recommendations to you, Jessica? Until our next meeting, or?
You can, yes. I have not been a proponent of this policy, but again, that's my personal opinion, and my personal opinion cannot reflect the opinion of the district or what's best for all students. And our chronically absent is outrageous at 40, what was it, 40% last year?
40% when I started.
Yeah,
It's
so.
22.5,
22.5 right now.
22.4% last year, chronically absent students, ranging anywhere from, I believe, 12% at our lowest school to 39% at the high school.
So we have to do something.
Yep.
We 100% have to do something. I don't always agree with the way that an excused and an unexcused absence is. If anyone wants to go back to all the film, you can hear me say that. But I, again, understand that kids need to come to school, and we need to make sure staying home is just not an option sometimes. So saying that, I really promote the fact that most kids will come to school if they have some kind of, I don't want to say it's going to be, we have to figure out, I'm just going to limit this. What happens when students come to school, half day, full day, whatever, and then we allow them to continue to do their after school activity? I think we need a fine line at all schools for this. If you are chronically absent, then you do not participate in A, B, C, D. It happens. I'm here to tell you it happens. But then you're punishing the child. And again, this is the same conversation I've had with other things. I don't like when we talked about the lunch, being $100,000 in debt for lunch, and what do we do about that? I don't know how to do it, but we need to hold people accountable, and I don't know what the right way to do that. This is not going to stop people from going on vacation. I would hope it would in the middle of the school year. I would hope that it would just, you don't feel good, then you stay home. But as most of you know here, I am that parent that if my child has diarrhea, I am not bringing her to the doctor, and she's going to stay home. So,
Those aren't the absences really that
I
we're
know.
talking
So I think
about.
that's where we
those
need
aren't
to
the students that, it's
hinge
the
on that.
10 absences, it's the 18 absences, and it's, we know a student gets the flu and they're out for multiple days,
But it's scary.
or-
If a child, again, I feel like I don't want to feel like I'm not acknowledging the fact that we have this many absences happening in our schools. But I need to be the fact that, you have 5 days and you have COVID, you're done. Which happened to my coworker at my job. She has no more sick days. But, that's what we get. I don't know what else to do. I know, but
I agree with your point, with what you're saying, that we also
this is
don't
so
want to.
hard. I know Sandy's heard me say this a couple years ago in 2019. It's so hard because I know the problems that we're having, and I feel like there's a connection that kids are missing, and that's why they don't come to school, and I don't know. I'm not sure.
I totally get the concern about overcorrecting, because that's how I see it, is that we have to do something about it, but we also don't want to completely overcorrect in the event that something does occur. But I'll definitely send over my edits, because they're smaller.
But I also respect the people who did this. I think it's a lot of work, and again, it's the follow through with all of this. I would want to see it. I would want to see the follow through. I would want to see the amount of students at Riverside Middle School that, obviously not the names, but the numbers that are chronically absent, the individual counseling, the students that went to individual counseling, the students that went to the reward system, the check and connect. I would want to see that this is working. Or I feel as though I would want to bring it up, back up for discussion. Because I'm not sure if that's how you, I mean, the numbers show, Riverside, Martin, and East Providence High School. Yeah, we had a little bit of some issues at the elementary school. This is 2022, but what are those schools doing that's making a difference? The elementary families. Yeah, and connection is huge. Yep. Calling a parent and asking, is your child okay, instead of why did you keep your kid home again? Again, I think, I think it's something that, and again, bring coaches involved, band directors involved. That's my opinion. Those kids come to school for a lot of them come for one reason. And I think that, so obviously for first read is first read, but I will take all comments and bring it on over. And then maybe we can bring it back to this group, and then maybe this group can help us work on it, because they know more than what I am. Again, I'm just sitting here trying to speak from not a parent and just trying to speak as someone who knows what's going on in this district and what we have to do to help it.
Any other additional comments or questions about this last policy or any of these before we move on? Thank you. Okay, next item, please.
Next item is public comments.
Thank you. I have Miss Chrissy Rossi.
Thank you for the time. I was at all three of the budget meetings, and I listened to Dr. Ferran outline the number of positions that we were unable to fill due to financial constraints. And then after a super secret meeting over breakfast between the chair and the mayor one Saturday that none of you, admittedly, were invited to. You weren't made privy to it. You still chose to give back the $211,000 that could have been used for our classrooms, for our teachers. I'd like to ask you to work harder on that kind of stuff. It's not always easy. I sat in your chair. I've felt the pressure. Our superintendent is doing an amazing job putting this all back together after our last superintendent. And it is only my opinion, but I think she's probably going to be the best thing that happened to this district in decades. So I would like you guys to work harder to find money for our kids and not just give it back to the mayor for his pet projects. As Craig just outlined, we're short. Now everybody's on a freeze because we don't have the money. And I don't know how much we're gonna get in extra state aid. I've been listening, paying attention tonight. We might still be short. You don't know how many more kids we're gonna get. So I would just like to ask to refocus on the students. And there is one of you that has more years of construction than some of you have been in existence on this planet, and that's Mr. Ferrera. 40 plus years of construction experience. The man has a phone full of pictures of all the things that need to be corrected in the district, yet I see the posts on Facebook basically saying nothing to see here. How is that possible? The building committee doesn't see it. I don't know how much experience any of you have in construction, but if he's showing you a picture of something that's wrong, you can't say, oh, no, couple of little things. It's not a couple of little things. And I'm sitting in a brand new building because we had to demolish our old building because we never kept up with it. And I don't want to see that happen here. Not again. I feel like I'm watching history repeat itself. 55 years, and I'm watching this happen all over again, and I don't want to. And the last thing I wanted to speak on this evening, we have a health and wellness policy. And the meals, I don't know if you guys have seen the menu for the elementary school. The meals do not reflect health or wellness. If you take a look at them, and I was assured that they meet government standards, but if you consider chicken nuggets, hot dogs, hamburgers, pizza, and beef nachos healthy offerings, then I would suggest we need to onboard a dietitian immediately, because you are setting up the next generation of type 2 diabetics with this crap. And I really think something needs to be done with Chartwell's and what they offer. I'm not saying feed these kids chicken and salad every day. I used to dig the pizza on Friday. Apparently it's still a thing. But I think we can do better. And that's the whole point of me showing up tonight, not to give you a rash, but please do better. These kids are depending on you guys. Do better with the money, do better with the construction, and do better with their food. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Delphine, Sr.
Thank you very much. It's the first time I've ever come before the board, and I come here respectfully, but I'm really concerned. I've lived in the city my whole life, almost 69 years now, and 1972 graduate of the high school, and I've had over 50 years in construction and facilities and related trades, and I'm beside myself at the things that I'm seeing in this city. Right now with the schools, with the lack of maintenance, and it's nothing new. I brought this up to the former superintendent a number of years ago when I had applied for a job, and that's not what this is about, but I only wanted to do something to help, because we're going in the wrong direction. This city has never built a building that's been of any quality. In modern years, it's just every time the city builds something, it's a joke. And the way they go about it is mysterious and hidden agendas that I've seen over the years. It's nothing new. And like with this school, it has come to light when I walk around the school and I see many deficiencies, and I haven't even walked through this. This is the furthest I've been in here. The outside deficiencies are disgusting, and I don't know what's happening, how they're being addressed, how they're going to be fixed. All I have seen is one person on this board that speaks up, and nobody backs him, and I don't understand why. I come before you, why? Why do we let our buildings deteriorate to the point where it's a capital expenditure to fix the problem? I'll take you to any building, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. How long are we going to leave that steel plate out in the driveway there, where the contractor put the wrong boxes in the driveway that aren't H20 loading? They're not designed to handle heavy traffic. You've got deliveries, you've got the trash trucks, and what happened? It broke, right? It broke. Is this building an environmentally friendly building? Do we have any kind of a rating here Because if we do, it's out the window. Because you walk around and you see the fire protection drains sticking out of the building all the way around, and they're loose. You know, vermin, anything can get in, but it breaks the vapor barrier. So if we've got anything going on here, maybe you can help, but what are we doing? Plus, we've got trip hazards all around the building. You know, I'm getting old and feeble, and I watch these things. And over in the corner, there's pipes sticking up in the sidewalk with no warnings or anything. There's cracks. The siding in the building is failing. The expansion joint, this is the biggest thing, the expansion joint in the building. What is going on with that? It looks not finished to me. It's exposed. There's a cavity at the bottom of them where weather gets in there. You can see spray foam in there. You know, in my mind, there should be some type of a finish piece going across there. Are the residents able to see the plans and specs? I know what I'm talking about. Did we get what we bought? And who was watching the store? And this is the thing that I've done this my whole life, and it's appalling. And all we see is taxes going up and taxes going up and votes that are off balance here. If this man is wrong, please tell me where he's wrong and tell me why you don't support him. Because just as a citizen that knows what he's talking about with this stuff, I support that man. Mr. Queenan, you came to my house when you were thinking about running, right? You grew up with my sons and we talked, and I tried, but you really didn't know what you were getting into. And I didn't want you to get into a quagmire. I wanted you to make a difference. Stand on your own 2 feet. And don't vote with the crowd, all right? That's what all of you have to do. Be independent. And don't let City Hall drive what you're doing with their agenda. You're the school board. And we need that. And there's regulations by the state of Rhode Island of what you're supposed to do. So maintenance is the #1 thing. And one more point with Orlo School. You're going to approve redoing the playground. Well, beautiful, yeah, but it's been let go for so many years. There's grass growing out in the cracks. But same thing with the school building. There's cracks. You know, you can see where in the veneer on the side, the crack is failed. You just put new windows in there. Did we test before we put the windows in? Do we know that the caulk that held the old windows in, did it have asbestos? Did it have lead in it, which is common with old buildings? And that should be around the city. And why do we have an abandoned underground storage tank at Orlo? Really, why? We're on gas there, right? I know. You guys don't know. I said I'm here to help. I'm not here to bully or chastise, but you don't know what you don't know. And you've got to have the right people advising you, all right? And I just want to bring awareness respectfully, and thank you for the time.
Thank you. Miss Tori Jessup Crowley, please.
Good evening. Just one comment about that construction delay that we're planning on having soon here. That's also going to impede the pickup for the elementary school that you were talking about. So I think that we need to think outside the box to help those working parents who are going to have delays for pickups. Maybe a collaboration with the Y or whatnot that's at the school. But that should be kind of thought of, because now with the delay of the high school buses leaving after drop off and going to pick up middle school and then going to pick up the elementary school, it just it trickles down, as we know. We don't know until it happens, but we do need to have some sort of plan in place for those parents who do have to go to work at a specific time and the buses aren't going to pick up at that time that they normally pick up. So just food for thought that we should probably think about. As you know, I'm pro-literacy. So I just wanted to remind you again that September 23rd is our very first Rhode Island Science of Reading Conference. And I am happy to say that we are now on a wait list. And so I'm super excited. I am one of the speakers, one of the breakouts, and it's going to go really well on the 23rd at the Compass School. Also, I want to let you know that we are in the process of finalizing our plans for October, which is Dyslexia Awareness Month. I put myself out as availability for any collaborations with school principals or librarians to help spread awareness of dyslexia within our school district. And then we're also going to work on the lighted up red here for our city. And now, in pertaining to a personal request, is I, as you know, have had children with dyslexia, and with that, we know that the decoding and encoding affects the child. And with the encoding in foreign language, it becomes very difficult to do. And sometimes they get that, not pass, but they get they don't have to have the foreign language requirement due to the disabilities. So I wanted to make my child have the ability to have foreign language. So I wanted us to think outside the box in regards to middle school and high school offerings. My daughter loves to speak Spanish and she's learning, but to do it in the written way is very difficult, seeing that she has not been able to master the English language yet for written form. So if there's any way that we can, and I don't know the regs in regards to foreign language, I'm really honest with that, but if there's any way that we can do auditorily Spanish or Portuguese to help any of our other children that have a specific learning disability in reading and writing, I would like you guys to start thinking outside the box for those offerings for middle school and high school. And the other option that I do know that the RIDE does offer through CCRI is ASL. And so if we can possibly offer ASL as a foreign language, that would open up some more options for children who are unable to do a specific foreign language. I would appreciate the help with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is action items.
I'll entertain a vote to approve for the East Providence School Department emergency plan. Is there a motion?
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Second, is there a motion to approve the policy on standards regarding food service procurement? That was for a second read tonight. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. I'll entertain a motion to approve the policy on the EPPD access to the East Providence School Department's video. That was also for a second read tonight. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. I'll entertain a motion to approve the award of the Orlo Avenue courtyard renovation project. Once Craig covers it.
Madam Chair, if I could ask that we table the award for the Orlo Courtyard renovation project and the graphic communications printer. I'll bring those back to you for next month. Thank you.
Okay.
I make a motion to table
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I just have a question on that, or a comment.
number 4 and 5.
Yes.
Sandy, if we can just, because we went over these courtyards, and I think Jess might remember this, about 8 years ago, where the fire department would not let us use them. So I want something in writing. I want to see the door lock, and I want it stamped by the fire marshal. Because the object was, the way we have a key on them now and stuff, if that door gets locked and anybody goes into them courtyards, if I'm thinking about the one inside the building.
Orlo?
Yes. There was an issue that none of our courtyards could be used when we put the new doors on, because the panic bar, once again, it has a key on the inside. If you lock it with that key, God forbid, any kids are out there doing whatever, and there's a fire, them kids cannot get out of that courtyard. That's why the fire department banned us using them. I think it was 6 or 7 years ago when we put the new doors on them. So,
I think it's been
I mean-
upgraded, but
I was
I'll
gonna
ask
say,
the fire department to come
yeah,
in
because
and do
there's
that.
actually a key on that panic bar. So if you lock that panic bar, it still opens to go into the courtyard, but you cannot get out of the courtyard. The controversy we had was, if we had a standard panic bar on it, if somebody did climb over the building and got in the courtyard, they can get her in, because technically the door, you can't really lock a panic bar per se. That's why, if they change their rules or whatever, that's fine,
look
but just
into it.
have, somebody, before we go further with this, there is a lock, but they're very, very expensive, so when we figure this all out, just have the architect or somebody.
Yep.
Unless they're gonna let us leave it the way it is, Sandy, but we just gotta get something in writing. Thank you.
I believe it was being used, at least the last time that
It
I
is
was in there.
being used, but we'll
Yeah.
make sure.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the updated building committee membership list. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Well, let's say aye. Aye. Approved?
That is the Martin Waddington Building Committee list, by the way.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the Martin Middle School and Pre-K testing and inspections consultant. We reviewed this last night. I'm not sure if, Craig, if you wanted to add any additional information.
We went out for an RFP. We had 4 submissions. One of them was considered not valid because it wasn't submitted in the proper way and format. And we decided to go with the lowest bid, which was Thilsch Engineering. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Well, let's say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Next, I have the Waddington Elementary School 60% construction document stage 3 submission to RIDE. Is there a motion to approve?
I just want to make a quick question before you approve, just a statement. The alternates on page 3 that you say are not in any particular order, okay? They could move up and down. They're just listed that way so that when it's presented, we can pick, okay, alternate 1 if there's money. Because I had last night, a very colorful commentary about that. So I don't think they're in the right order, but again, I was told that's not really the order.
There were no, just going off of that, there was no additional changes from the last meeting we had. Just, again, making sure that that was clear with everyone, like
Perfect.
Jessica said.
So I'll make a motion if no one, oh, you guys already did, right? Oh, sorry, it's getting late. No, I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Thank you.
All let's say aye.
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 I'm gonna
Approved.
put that into every conversation I have.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the Riverside Middle School General Contractor RFP. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All that say aye. Aye. And lastly, I'm not sure if we have a small presentation on this item. I know we haven't spoken about it before, so I'm not sure if there's anything else to add on that. Okay. Does anyone have any questions regarding the last item, regarding the East Providence High School trip to New York City to David Geffen Hall? If not, I'll ask for the motion. Is there a motion to approve for the East Providence High School trip to New York City?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Approved. Next item, please.
Next item is announcements.
Are there any announcements from the committee? Next item, please.
Adjournment.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All that say aye?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Have a good night.
I know, I just saw that.
That's why I was like, what class is this?
It's music.
Yeah. Good night.